Game Clique.
I want to explain a little more in depth what we're about to do. So I created what's called the Capcom Revival Tournament Bracket. So I took 16 old Capcom games that have not had a new entry within at least the past decade. And I seeded them based on what I think the overall excitement is online for a new one, based on what I see. So it's going to be like sports tournament bracket style. The 1 seed going to go against the 8 seed, so on and so forth. And we're going to move people forward based on what we think and what we think alone. I put a poll out for the first round, and we can use that to kind of like help guide us. Okay. And based on whoever makes it to the end, that's who I'm going to email Capcom. I'm going to like, look, science says that this is the joint y'all need to do.
I like it. I already know which one I'm rooting for. Oh boy.
Who you rooting for? Actually, I don't know. I don't want to reveal your bias.
Yeah. I ain't gonna say nothing. Not yet.
So the step for selection was, like I said, it can't have a new entry within the past 10 years. Okay. It can't have a new entry announced that's coming out soon. So that's why you don't see Okami or Onimusha, because we know they got new ones coming out.
Yep. Okay.
And it's got to be IP that Capcom owns. So it's none of their licensed stuff. That's why there's no Lion King. There's no Marvel versus Capcom or none of that stuff here.
Okay, not sure. I haven't talked to you since. Real quick, can we talk about that Onimusha trailer? We don't have to talk about it, but man.
I didn't.
Man, that brought back, man. That made me super nostalgic, man.
Yo, the gauntlet.
Yeah, I'm hyped. I kind of want to go back because they just like remastered it or something, like early last year. Yeah, that kind of made me want to go back.
Yeah, man, I'm excited for it. Sorry, I didn't mean to throw something. Trailer's crazy.
Yeah, man. So let's run through this in order. So we're going to start in the Ryu conference. So I guess I should explain that too. I've split them up into two conferences. The Ryu conference, which is basically fighting games and other games are kind of like the same vibe and ilk. And the Leon conference, which is horror games and kind of other action adventure-y type stuff.
Yeah.
So let's start with the 1 seed versus the 8 seed on the Ryu conference side, which is probably going to be a little easy. Darkstalkers, the 1 seed versus Rival Schools, the 8 seed. Two beloved old fighting game franchises.
Admittedly, I've never played Rival Schools, so my only like I told y'all before the show, I did a little research before, so I made sure I gave each game at least 30 minutes to an hour of gameplay of me watching and taking in what was going on in different parts. Darkstalkers I have played. I mean, really enjoy that game, but I remember as a kid thinking it was just more generic to some of the other fighters that were available to me as a kid. I just even going back and looking up gameplay of it, because obviously I don't have it now, I was like, man, I don't really remember any of these characters like that in comparison to some of the other fighters I was playing at the time. Rival Schools look really cool though, from everything that I saw. I think one of the biggest things that pulls me into a fighting game is somebody that can't put a lot of time into them is a character select screen, and I thought the characters look really cool. Like from the get-go, I wanted to know what they all did and what their abilities were, and it just looked fun, vibrant colors. I just thought it looked really cool. So I don't know, I go either way with this one, but like I said, I wanted to be biased because I haven't actually played Rival Schools.
I feel that I haven't played it either. So I guess I'm gonna speak in a more like abstract kind of way. I feel like even though I haven't played it, oddly enough, I've seen people play it, but I haven't played Darkstalkers either. But I have to say that just based on me observing, it seems like Rival Schools is appreciated for its aesthetic, whereas Darkstalkers seems to be like appreciated for its impact. Maybe not huge impact, but like, well, it's subjective. But my point is, I hear more about the actual game when people bring up Darkstalkers. When I hear people bring up Rival Schools, it's just kind of like, oh yeah, that cool game that most of us didn't really play, but enough of us played. But yeah, it was cool. You remember that? I remember it too. So that's what I take from that.
Yeah,
I think that makes sense. I think one thing that I did like when I was younger, that brought me back when I looked up Darkstalkers again, was even though the characters didn't stick with me, I do remember as a kid always going back to it because of how fluid and good the 2D animation looked for that time period. I think just some of the move sets and how they use like fire in some cases and things like that was really, really cool. So I agree with you. I think in a lot of cases, yeah, I think we more so talk about the gameplay or at least the overall package that is Darkstalkers, maybe a little bit more.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
Yeah, I'm definitely way more into Darkstalkers. I've never played a rival school, to be fair, too. What got me into Darkstalkers was when I was a kid, Darkstalkers had a cartoon show. Yeah, Capcom was like really into Darkstalkers for some reason. And I don't know if y'all familiar. There's a character, when people think about Darkstalkers, they think of Morgan.
Yes.
Yeah.
The one that they say has a secret relationship with Spider-Man.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Just because they have like art together in Marvel vs. Capcom.
There's everybody. There's what's called Rule 13, Rule 33.
Man, see, that's one thing I will say. Looking up some of these games that I didn't play, I was finding out so much like lore and like some of these conversations surrounding these characters and games. That was really, really cool for sure.
Yeah.
So like I was telling y'all off air, to help us out, because like you said, none of us here have played Rival School, and there are going to be some blank spots that we need to help fill in throughout the joint. So I've reached out to the rest of Game Clique, the community, on Instagram. I put polls up for the first round to kind of help guide us. So for this one, it went the way we thought. Darkstalkers won 69% to Rival School's 31%.
Gotcha. Okay.
So I think it's a safe bet that we should go with the community.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Sorry, I'm going to go ahead and move Darkstalkers up. While I'm doing that, why don't we talk about... Now, this one's an interesting matchup. The 4-seed Power Stone versus the 5-seed Asura's Wrath.
When I played them, I was played both of those games. I was super young.
Yeah.
But I feel like Power Stone had a bit more of an impression on me at my age. Yeah.
I haven't played Asura's Wrath. That's the one I had to do research on and looked at some gameplay. But recently, luckily, have been able to revisit Power Stone because of the Capcom Fighting Collection that actually dropped recently that had Power Stone on it. So I took it on a flight with me, with my Switch and got to play it a little bit. And I don't think gameplay wise, I don't think it aged well, but I saw the vision in terms of, wow, like this is a fighter that plays so different than any other fighter I played before. You had the power-ups and the transformations even in some characters' cases. You had situations where, you were able, I could see it being a party game almost. You have different modes that if you brought it back in a capacity right now. And so I just think it's a game that I can see translating very well in today's climate of like, I want to play with my friends. I want to jump in and have fun. I don't want to try too hard, in a fighting game, but I want to jump on and have fun and beat each other up a little bit. When I looked at Asura's Wrath and I looked up some gameplay, first thing I thought was Street Fighter. When I was reading through things, I was seeing the community to this day on Reddit arguing about if this is in the Street Fighter universe. To me, I just can't see Capcom dipping into something that has that much like confusion around it, around the IP and what it is versus something like Power Stone that I think is so defined and so different from anything else in the genre. So I would struggle to put Asura's Wrath. But like I said, once again, I have not played that one, so very, very much biased.
Yeah, the way I seeded it was I put Power Stone like right above where Asura's Wrath is. Power Stone's the 4-seed, Asura's Wrath is the 5-seed. There's a big cult following, a respectable cult following for Asura's Wrath. So for Power Stone, I think we all have played at least one of the Power Stones. We know it's kind of like that 3D. I can't remember if Power Stone came out before Smash Bros, but they both had the same kind of like platform fighter vibe.
Yes.
Yeah.
Asura's Wrath, if I could compare it to anything, I think it's Wukong without the level filler in between the fights. Like
so it's a straight boss rush.
Exactly. It was all so a lot of the action in the gameplay is like quick time events and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But the fights are also like bombastic and big, and it's like you throwing like
It was giving me very anime when I watched
yes, it's very much Dragon Ball Z inspired, Dragon Ball Z coded. You like throwing moons at people. Y'all are like friggin' like go on that above the earth, and like it's crazy.
Yeah.
And that's what like at the time that this released, I was 100% into that kind of vibe. So this like scratched that kind of itch.
Yeah, I think you're right. To me, it felt like Street Fighter, Budokai Tenkaichi, you know, and I just can't. I don't know if I'm really vibing with that. And like I said, I just think as a on the business end, right? If I'm thinking Capcom, like, do I really want to put something out like that when Street Fighter 6 did so well, right? We should be capitalizing on that IP, you know, and really building that up. So I feel that.
So I'm gonna go to the fans, and I want to preface this by saying like the fans aren't always right. Don't turn off the show. Don't turn off the show. Well, just saying, we don't have to go with what the fans said. I'm just saying this guy.
Yeah.
So Power Stone had 44%. Asura's Wrath 56. So mad close.
Super close.
Mad close. But so I agree with what you're saying too, because we're not sitting here deciding like what games we like the best. We're deciding what's the best franchise to bring back.
Yep.
And I agree with you that I think Power Stone is the safer bet.
It is.
Right?
Yeah.
So is that where we're going?
Yeah.
I think so.
For sure.
Easy.
And then to me, I've been telling people to this day, I think that fighting game collection they put out was genuinely like a test. Like let's see what they gravitate towards. Let's see what they're playing. What are the online communities gravitating towards? And see what we could do with that IP. So I don't know how Power Stone's performing on it. I would love to see a breakdown of like what people are playing on that, you know, game. But yeah, I hope Power Stone's close to the top of that list.
Yeah.
Boom, Power Stone. Moving on. So next up, we got the number 3 seed, Final Fight, versus the number 6 seed, Super Puzzle Fighter.
I've never touched Final Fight. This is one I had to unfortunately look up. And I say unfortunately because I don't think I ever would have played this game for more than like 15 minutes watching this game. The character are just, I don't know. It just didn't look engaging. I think like, and I love like the side scroll beat 'em up era, right? Like Double Dragon, even some of the stuff like with guns like Metal Slug back in the day. I used to love, right? But this didn't have the I guess the sauce, if you want to call it that, of like any of those, right? There was nothing that I saw in this game that made it look like, oh wow, like Final Fight has an identity behind it, right? One thing I did love, the car beat 'em up level, love that. You know, shout out to that. I thought that was really cool. But I think overall, Puzzle Fighter, I think is just like the ultimate game for anybody, right? As I was sitting here during going back and reminiscing on this game and playing it, my girlfriend came up behind me and she was like, "Is that a fighting game?" I was like, "Yeah, it's like a puzzle fighting game." And I was like, this probably be the only way I would ever get her to be able to play a fighting game with me. And I think it's so accessible, right? As a way to get people into that genre. Maybe you don't fully transition right into something like a Street Fighter, but I think the fact that it has that ability and that crossover is something that's super important. So I don't know. Like I said, I haven't played Final Fight, so I'm not. Y'all might be. I hope y'all can give it its flowers that I can't.
I've seen gameplay of Final Fight, but I haven't played it myself. But I know for a fact that I feel like you kind of took all my words. I think your Puzzle Fighter is just. I think it's very important to have games that help establish something special and accessible for new players. You know, like you said, you know, your partner. This is a good way for you to bridge that gap and to get her to play a fighting game with you.
Right.
So I think that I think it's especially right now. Personally, I believe we're having a fighting game renaissance. A new one at least, and everything looks great. So if there was ever any time for them to bring that back, I think that specifically would be really cool and different.
Yeah.
Also, the mobile gaming is becoming so prevalent too, right? Like mobile gaming, I think on our phones, but also just in terms of handhelds. Like I think I'm willing to bet that majority of my gaming last year was probably spent on my Steam Deck, probably more than anything else. Yeah, and so I genuinely do think that there's also a renaissance in terms of people taking stuff on the go, and I think that's a perfect game for it.
You know that's a fact when Sony said, maybe we should make a handheld. They're asking for decades. Crazy.
I feel so bad for people that speak on that real quick that ran and got the Portal, knowing that Sony is now working on a standalone handheld. That's crazy.
Yeah, Microsoft too though. Microsoft is coming out with one too. I think they're all about to shake it up soon for real.
I think like I was like, yo, you got like I didn't think about it at first. I didn't realize that it was Sony's way of potentially dipping their toe in the water. But it's like come on, man. And you got everybody buying this Portal, and then you say you're gonna make an act like, come, you guys are nasty. Or like,
yeah, you gotta test the water. I get it, but it is very grimy.
Yeah, but I'm glad that it went well, and in combination with all these like new like handheld like PC gaming handhelds, like I think it's such a great time, and even just Nintendo, Nintendo pisses me off sometimes, but Nintendo's Nintendo.
The Switch, I would say, is what rejuvenated. Honestly, like I really do feel like the Switch was one of the first new on the go consoles that people really gravitated towards. Where I was seeing families, people of all ages, bring their Switch to the airport, on the bus and to all these different places. So yeah, I think big ups to Nintendo. They definitely, I think they set it off.
I agree.
Rumor is we're gonna see that Switch 2 Friday
this week. Yeah, I know. Excited, man.
Okay, you wait.
Very excited.
So, to the fans, Final Fight, 57%.
Wow.
Puzzle Fighter, 43. So another real close one.
Wow. It's so close.
Real
close.
Wow. I mean,
I'm not mad at it.
I'm not mad at it either because, like I said, I haven't played it. So maybe if I actually got my hands on it, it'd be different. But like I was watching the gameplay, I was like, I don't know about this, man. I don't know about this one.
So I can't refute anything that you say. I've played entries in both of these. I've played entries in both of these, right? Final Fight at the time, like really good, came out at a time where beat 'em ups were like a dime a dozen.
Okay.
And this wasn't at the time one of my favorite ones. Like this wasn't touching Streets of Rage to me.
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
But the thing is Final Fight, the lore of Final Fight is so tightly woven with the Street Fighter lore. Like Hager, one of the people that are in Final Fight, he is the mayor of the town in Street Fighter. And he's like very prominent in Street Fighter 6. So in that argument, that would be kind of cool to bring another Final Fight back, introduce these people, especially Mike Hager, to a new fan base that aren't familiar.
Man, you just play him in Street Fighter 6, call it a day, man.
Put him in the next Puzzle Fighter.
Oh my God.
That's all today, man.
So do we got our first upset? Are we moving Puzzle Fighter up?
Man, I see we took the last one from him though. We took the last one.
Let's get in that one.
We're gonna Final Fight.
All right, Final Fight. Moving on.
I know they moving past this next round though.
This one's crazy. So the seeding here, the seeding here was tough for me.
I bet.
Like it's like I did it, and then I looked down and was like, damn, I don't think Strider really should be down there. But I don't know. I couldn't really reorder it. Like I think that's just where it goes. So 7 Strider, 2 Viewtiful Joe. So what's y'all history with either one of those franchises?
Hey man, look, so I finally. It's funny because from here on out, I didn't play everything.
Yeah.
Now I'm not. Now Viewtiful Joe. That's my game.
Yeah.
Like I ain't gonna say nothing, but I think that Viewtiful Joe is so awesome. It's so cool. Like when people bring it up, everyone's excited. It's like, oh yeah, and I just think that if something was going to be brought back, something that I've actively heard people say, man, yeah, bring it back. Why not? And it's a different time, so like they can kind of just like play around with it, dude. I don't know. I just feel like people want it. I personally hear it often enough, And it's just a game like that. It's just I just feel like you can't lose. I played Strider. It was I enjoyed it, but I personally didn't enjoy it as much as most. I feel. So I don't have anything too crazy to say about that. But yeah, man, Beautiful Joe, man.
Yeah, Viewtiful Joe might have been one of the first games, and this might be a crazy thing to say, but this was the first game where like it was just pure style. Like I didn't play anything that looked like Viewtiful Joe before that game came out.
That was my Devil May Cry before I played Devil May Cry.
Yeah, man. The fun.
So
What were you about to say?
no, I was like, yeah. So like, I wasn't gonna say anything. I was just like, yeah. So like, for me, yeah. Like, I get what you're saying.
Yeah, like
So unfortunately, I've never played either one of these, right? So but I knew these two in the bracket, especially seeing Beautiful Joe. I've always seen that logo. I've always seen the art for it, right? I think that's like iconic, and just him as a character. And so when I was watching gameplay from both of these, like I am on a big like Metroidvania kick. Like I love one of my favorite games last year, Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown. Like I absolutely love that game. And so watching, Strider, and it's like a futuristic ninja, running around with combat and like traversal puzzles like that's me. Like that's what I would love in a game. But then I turned on that Beautiful Joe, y'all, and I saw that art style, and I said, man, this game got sauce, man. It's the one. Oh man, I promise y'all, even watching it, I had no clue what was happening in that game. But the way it looked and how much style it had, I was like, I want to play this. Like I want to know like what is going on like in this game when I was watching it. So I don't know, man. Like I said, Strider I think would thrive in this era because Metroidvanias I think are having a really big kick. But I think what you all said about the flexibility of Viewtiful Joe as an IP, right? You can keep that art style, and even if you don't think the gameplay will translate, you could do so much with that character and how original it is and how original that art and stylization is. And so I would love to see them bring that back in some capacity. I don't know how you do it to make it to where goofballs like me can look at it and not be like, what is happening here? But I think if you could do that, I think you'll be golden for sure.
Agreed.
Yeah, outside of Viewtiful Joe 1 and 2, I think the last time Capcom has used anything Viewtiful Joe was in Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite, the one that like the loss.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's true too, bro. But that was about.
Yeah, I feel bad for the Beautiful Joe, man. Beautiful Joe I feel like that series has like, the franchise just has bad luck.
Yeah.
In the sense that like, it's like the impact is there, but like sometimes Beautiful Joe just gets the short end of the stick, and that's one of the best examples. Like you were a part of one of the games that like people aren't as like you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like oh, it sucks, man. It sucks.
Yeah.
I feel like it does have a cult fan base though, so I definitely think that this is a game that will have some energy around it. You know what I mean? If they announced it and it looked good, I think that's the biggest thing. Is the first time we saw gameplay footage of this, or whatever, it would have to hit. Because if it didn't, I think that'd be very bad.
It's time. So I'm like I can't even imagine what they could do with it now.
Yeah. But I wouldn't want them to lose the essence of that art style. That specific art style I think is still so special. I think if they just reskin that and just modernize it a little bit, I just feel like we get so many games and that just playing realistic art style now. Anytime I see something different like that, I feel like it holds my attention a little bit more.
Yeah. All right, I do gotta say I'm super sorry, Brian. I gotta get ready for something.
Yeah.
I hate it. I'm having such a good time, and I'm pissed because everything on the right, everything on the Leon side, I have played. But nevertheless, thank you again for having me. Please have me on soon so that I can have a more like I'm on for longer. Sergio, super nice to meet you. Not a good thing, man.
Put that mouthwash and we're gonna see you back over.
Talk about mouthwash.
For real.
Beat it.
I'm so serious. I'm gonna play it, guys.
Sounds good. Bet.
All right, guys. You guys enjoy yourselves. Fans, hold on. What did the fans say? No, don't tell me.
This gotta know.
I gotta know.
This one was the first landslide. Strider 13%.
Beautiful 86. That's
iconic. He's iconic, man.
Yeah, even I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah.
Like Like that's crazy.
At least against Strider, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm like. Nevertheless, man, I'm not complaining. So, all right, man. Thank you guys so much for having me.
Yeah.
Of course, man. Talk to you soon.
Yeah, man.
Talk to you soon, man.
All right. So where are we going to go? I asked this if we don't already know. Can we just, I feel like we spent a lot of this time talking about Viewtiful Joe and not really giving Strider its flowers.
Yeah. No, because like I said, I think like I said from the get go, like I'm on a Metroidvania kick. Like I'm absolutely in love with the genre and even games that are similar. Like one of my games on my Steam that I can't put down right now is also Dead Cells. I found out the company that made Dead Cells has put out a new roguelike, Windblown, that's early access. I've been playing that with my partner. Incredible so far, and I've been loving it. And so I've been wanting to see like where that studio came from, you know, what was Dead Cells and you know, whatnot. But like I said, just really being on a Metroidvania kick. I've been playing Hollow Knight, for instance. Never played that before, so I've been playing through that for the first time. And so it's been really enriching to play through some of those games. And I just think they're just so easy to play without being too easy, if that makes sense. You know, like I can throw on a Prince of Persia or in this case a Strider, right, and just be able to play and still challenge myself, but not feel like I'm, you know, bashing my head against the wall for too long. And once again, we talk about this era of, you know, portable gaming, right? And I think I could easily see a remake of that being played on Steam decks and things like that. It's just, once again, when you put it up against the stylization of Viewtiful Joe, it's just so hard for me to envision that not having a better chance just based off aesthetic and just being different, you know, alone.
Bye, Strider. Yeah, it was cool. Even like back when it first came out, it was kind of like Capcom's answer to Ninja Gaiden. And
that's what it reminded me of when I saw the gameplay of it.
Yeah, and it was cool. I do appreciate it, but like you said, like Viewtiful Joe is just Viewtiful Joe might really
special.
Yeah, it should have been the number one,
special, man.
Honestly.
It's special.
So all right, I'm gonna put up how the bracket looks now. I should have exported it so I could show you. But on the Ryu side, in the second round, once we get to the second round, we still gotta decide what the first round of Leon looks like. But
for sure,
in the second round, we're gonna have Darkstalkers versus Power Stone and Final Fight versus Viewtiful Joe.
Nice. Okay.
So yeah, we got that to look forward to. But how about we jump straight into, let's finish the whole first round before we hit the break.
For sure. Let's do it.
On the Leon side, the number 1 Dino Crisis versus the number 8 Bionic Commando.
So I have not played Bionic Commando. I have played Dino Crisis. You know, like I said, when I was going through all these to even refresh myself on the ones that I have played, I was just looking at Dino Crisis, and I just think you look at that game and it just screams like I would translate it in 2025. That's what it screams, you know, like, and not saying that you can copy paste it and still have it be perfect, but it just reminded me so much of that old school, like, Resident Evil, stylization and gameplay. And like, dinosaurs are cool. And I feel like we don't have enough dinosaurs in video games. Like, I used to love, like objectively cool. And if we don't have enough of them in video games, I used to love games like Turok, right? And things like that when I was a kid. So, and I really think, you know, once again, this is me being the horror fan that I am. You know, I remember playing this game as a kid and some of this sparked scaring me. And so like, I think if you go full on with that and make this like a action horror dinosaur game, you know, and make it claustrophobic, right? Like you were in some of those halls. I think this could be something crazy.
Remember like a year or two ago when Capcom revealed Exo Primal?
I do remember that. Yeah, wow. Well, I forgot about that game, but yeah, wow, that's crazy.
And they showed the trailer. They didn't show the title at first. They showed the trailer and it seen Capcom. Then it's seen dinosaurs. Then it's seen some woman with red hair that looked like the woman from Dino Crisis. Everybody's like, Dino Crisis? And
Exo Primal.
Like, they did it on purpose. Like, why would you do that?
Yeah, it had to be like a testing of the water. There's just no way.
Yeah, but I think Dino Crisis is clearly the safe bet. The fans thought the same thing too. Dino Crisis 71%, Bionic Commando 29%.
Shout out to that 29% Bionic Commando. I think, you know, for what I saw, the gameplay looked pretty cool. But I was just very unimpressed with like the variety in the combat. I think when I think of somebody that has a robot arm that can do all these agile things, like I don't want to uppercut some barrels, shoot the barrels at them, uppercut the barrels, shoot the barrels at them repeatedly. And I think if there was a little bit more combat variety, I would think I would like it a little more. I did like the scale of it. Some of the boss fights, like I was watching a boss fight where the character was fighting like this huge robot worm that was coming out of the ground, and it's not something I would expect from a game like this at first glance. So I appreciate the aspiration of what they were trying to go for, but I think they limited themselves a lot with the combat, especially in this era, right? Like your combat has to bring it in an action game.
For sure.
I think that is something that Dino Crisis may have a little bit better of.
Yeah, I've never played the 3D Bionic Commando. That was kind of like it was supposed to be like a reboot.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that was on the Xbox 360. I played a lot of the 2D ones, which were pretty cool. They were like side-scrolling shooters.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah, and they were pretty cool. It was kind of like Contra vibes, except the one thing that differentiated it was the mechanical armed mechanic.
Okay. Oh, so that was even in it back then.
Yep.
Okay. Cool.
So yeah, that was cool, but it's not. It's not
It's not a Dino Crisis.
This is gonna.
Not Dino Crisis.
If I could predict what the championship's gonna look like I feel like Donald.
Maybe, I don't know, man. I got a bias on this right side. I got a bias.
Oh,
The bias, man.
all right.
Dude.
All right, we'll see. I'm gonna move Donald Crisis to the next round right now.
Cool.
And while I'm doing that, let's ponder about the 4 seed Lost Planet versus the 5 seed Killer 7.
So I'm really, really hoping you can provide some context to me on Killer 7.
Yeah.
Because when I researched this game and I was watching gameplay of this, I was like, what in the world is happening? There was a boss fight that I tried to get through where this person was like moving cars on a puzzle, and like I don't know what was happening in this game, but I thought that was cool, right? I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing per se. It intrigued me. Just off first glance, it didn't really do anything for me. And unfortunately, it's going up against my bias, Lost Planet. I was a big Lost Planet kid. Oh my goodness. Lost Planet 1 and 2. I just remember, and the more I think about it, like we just had this year where Helldivers was just able to just explode, right? And I think if you really, one of the things I think Lost Planet had going against it was when they really started trying to make you fight like other humans, or like you were just fighting other people that were like your size. Some of my most exciting moments like with those games were fighting the bigger monsters in the worlds and and things like that. And so I think if they went otherworldly like you should be with the game titled Lost Planet, I think it could be something really special. And add a little multiplayer customization. Let me jump in with my friends. And if you still want to give me, they were very big on story, right? So if you still want to give me a story with that, I think that's fine. But I think that could be something that could thrive. It would be a little bit more digestible than what I saw of Killer 7. But like I said, I hope you can provide some more context because I was just so lost.
Yeah, so Killer 7, and I meant to bring this up when we were talking about Viewtiful Joe. So Capcom, when Nintendo made the GameCube, which is why a lot of these games some people don't have any experience with, Capcom entered like an exclusive deal with Nintendo to publish 4 games on the GameCube. And it was Viewtiful Joe, it was Resident Evil 4, Killer 7, and it was one called like Oni or something like that. I don't know. Killer 7 was, I believe, this was the first one I've heard of. This was the first game from Grasshopper manufacturer, the people who make No More Heroes.
Oh,
so it explains the vibe.
Yeah. Okay. That makes a lot more sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, Suda51 and the people at Grasshopper, they co-produced this with Shinji Megami. He's from one of the originators of Resident Evil. He left Capcom to work on oh my gosh, the other Evil Within.
Oh wow! Yes. Oh my God, my boy Sebastian, man, that's my game right there. Like I said, I'm a horror fan, so that's my man.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
So I've played Killer 7, but never long enough to kind of fully understand what's going on.
Well, listen, if you played it, you don't understand it. We can go ahead and move Lost Planet because that don't make no sense, dog.
But yeah,
I really tried. I sat here and I really was attentive and watched it, and I was like, "What is happening here? What is going on?"
But it's just I'm a big fan of like Suda 51 and Grasshopper Manufacturer, all the No More Heroes, the Shadows of the Damned,
Yeah, for sure.
Lollipop Chainsaw, all that. I love their style. I love the art style. I love like the weirdness of everything they make. And Killer 7 was the first one. Was like, what is happening? I'm all in. I don't care. I don't know what's happening.
Right. Sure.
But
Cool.
I'm with you on Lost Planet. I played all 3 of those.
Love them, yes.
Yeah, man. I love the combat. I was even like when that came out, I wasn't really into mechs like that. Like I wasn't really into like
Me neither.
Yeah.
Yep.
And Lost
wasn't
Planet
either.
like was it. And I think a lot of it was Lost Planet came out around the time the 360 first came out.
Mm-hmm.
And that was one of those first games like this game looks great.
Yes,
Yeah.
100%. Yep. Because I remember, so I didn't have I think I played my first Lost Planet on PS3 actually.
That makes sense.
And even then I was like, wow, like this game looks like, like it looks like I'm in another world. It was one of the first games I felt like as a kid, especially in a shooter, right? I feel like shooters, we never really get those transformative worlds that they take you to. And I feel like Lost Planet was one of the first games to do that for me as a kid.
So we took it to the fans.
Okay.
And a lot of them didn't play those GameCube games. Lost Planet 80%, Killer 720.
Yeah. So I would love to see, you know what? I would love to see a modern rendition of it, adaptation of some kind, right? Just to see if they were to modernize it, right, and make it more digestible, what would that look like, right? Because I think it seems like it's intriguing enough and artistic enough, right, to where I would want to see something from it. But once again, when we're talking about games that they should bring back, Lost Planet is a much safer bet, I think, in terms of IP notoriety for sure.
Yeah, Killer 7 would be a huge gamble. So I totally understand. I'm not taking it personally.
100%.
Let's go ahead and move Lost Planet to the next round. Next up is number 3, Breath of Fire, versus the number 6, Clock Tower.
So for me, I haven't played Clock Tower. That was one of my research games. So I, once again, big horror guy. So I was excited when I saw that that's what genre this was in. I started watching some of the gameplay and got a little bit less excited. But I think that's because it's an old game, right? Old games are gonna look old, and I think that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that, right? But I think there was a lot of quality of life things too that just weren't really indicative, I think, of what a modern game would feel like. Having to, sit down every time your health went down for almost a minute to regain the health, I think is a little much, right?
Yeah.
But on the flip side of that, I think we're Breath of Fire. I haven't played that one either. But one of the first games that you and I talked about together on this show, one of my first appearances was Sea of Stars, and I told you how much I absolutely love that game. And I'm literally, funny enough, I'm looking at replaying it with my partner right now, and I looked at the save of when I finished the game, and it is literally around the same time that I played my first playthrough of it while I'm playing it with her. And so it's a bit crazy to go back and replay that. But as I looked up gameplay for this, it brought all of that back, right? Your Chrono Triggers, and all those games back then that really put like the turn-based RPG, 8-bit, graphics on the map. This just looks so intriguing. I thought the characters look really cool. The combat looks like it holds up. A lot of the upgrades look very different, and not as like samey as some of the stuff you've seen today. So I would like to see how I could experiment if they made a remake, with that. So I don't know. I just think that game, to me, is something that I think RPGs are in right now. I think people are, miss turn-based combat, and when it's done well, the people have been reminded lately that it can be done so well. And so I would love to see a remake of Breath of Fire. But Clock Tower, as a horror fan, I can see it too. It just seems like gameplay-wise, I just don't know if that would translate directly into a 2025 environment.
Yeah, I agree 100% with everything you said. Breath of Fire, I've not played that. That's one of like the few games here that I haven't played. But I agree that JRPGs specifically are like on a resurgence.
Yes,
like,
100%.
Yeah, with the Final Fantasy VII remakes and the Personas and the
Metaphor. Yep.
This would, a modern day one with like some nice graphics. And Capcom doesn't have, I don't think, a turn-based RPG. Like, I don't think they've ventured
you might be right.
a long time. So, yeah.
Now's the time. Yes.
Exactly.
Now's the time. Yeah.
But horror games are popping too.
They are 100%. But to me though, I think what this comes down to is I see more work that needs to be done from the product that I saw from Clock Tower versus a product I saw from Breath of Fire, right? If I was able to right now just, sit somebody down that doesn't game and say, hey, play these two and let me know, how you feel about it. I can see people being with Clock Tower a little like, I don't really know. And maybe the same with Breath of Fire, right? Because it is turn-based. It may not be for everybody. But I just see it much more easily translatable into today versus if I'm taking the products as they are.
So with Clock Tower, I've not played the first Clock Tower. I know that's like 2D side scrolling, a lot of text. I know it probably didn't age well. The one I played was Clock Tower 3.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think that was on a PS1 or 2.
It probably was a 2.
Yeah.
It probably was a 2.
And you played as a little girl and you kind of had to find these objects to solve environmental puzzles. But the cool thing about that was the Clock Tower villain, there was like this hunchback dude with scissors, and he kind of worked the way Mr. X or like the Nemesis works in Resident Evil.
Oh God, where he just sprints at you?
Yeah, he just pops out of nowhere. So you're just
you're
walking somewhere and you'll hear the music. And you got to hurry up and hide. So there are a lot of games nowadays like the Outlast franchise where you kind of are playing like this powerless person and all you got to do is hide when the villain comes. So those people who are fans of that, I could imagine would gravitate if they make it right, like you said.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And this one, I'm looking at some screenshots right now, the gameplay from Clock Tower 3 specifically, right? And I only looked up the original, but I think this third one, I think is something that does look more translatable, right? If I'm watching this gameplay, I can easily say, okay, like this is what's happening. I know, this person is chasing this person, but I think I just don't know. It would be so tough. And not saying it could be successful, but I would find it so tough for a game to come out today and be successful with that same art style. That old, almost, I think it was a Friday the 13th game at one point that had that same sort of, going this way. So I would find it so tough, to be successful with that in modern times. But it could definitely happen. But like I said, I think they would definitely have to go to Clock Tower 3 route if they were going to try to bring that back for sure.
So the fans said Breath of Fire, 77%. Clock Tower 23.
Yeah, as a horror fan, it hurts, man. I really wanted to root for Clock Tower when I saw that's what it was, but just looking at Breath of Fire, and like I said, my kick recently on because of Sea of Stars on turn-based stuff is just really good. I'm finally gonna. I think I talked to you before too about not playing a Persona before. I really wanted to jump into that.
Yeah.
Metaphor came out, so once I finish this playthrough of Sea of Stars, Metaphor is my next one. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna jump into it. I'm gonna commit to it, man. I'm gonna try it. I'm gonna see if I can get into it.
And I think Breath of Fire, again, this is not about personal opinion about which ones we like best. It's about which ones would be the better reboot. And Breath of Fire storied franchise, there's like 6 entries.
Wow.
Yeah, there's 6 of them bad boys.
Jeez.
Oh, yeah.
And all of a sudden now they don't want to bring it back? What happened?
I don't know. But yeah, I agree with you. I agree with the fans. I'm gonna miss Clock Tower. I'm very curious to see what a Clock Tower would look like now. But
for sure.
If I'm putting my CEO hat on, Breath of Fire got to move up.
Yeah.
Boom. Number 3, moving up. Our last matchup, round 1. Our 7 seed, Ghosts and Goblins or Ghouls and Ghosts. They're both kind of like the same thing. Versus the number 2 seed, Mega Man X, specifically X. So not the OG Mega Man, not Mega Man Legends. Mega Man X.
Okay. I think so. I have played Ghosts and Goblins, funny enough, but I have not played Mega Man X. That entry has escaped me. Yeah. So I did look up, gameplay of Mega Man X. I thought it was probably the most stylistic looking Mega Man game. I was kind of jealous that I hadn't played it because I was like, wow, this like looks really, really cool, just like the way they use color and things in comparison to some of the other games. And they use color well in most of their games, but I think X looked like, to me visually, it took it to another level. But I do think for me right now, thinking back on my time with Ghosts and Goblins, as a kid and how frustrated I would get at the time, and I think how much I've grown as a gamer and how much people right now love, like we talked about Metroidvanias. They love arcading games where we can jump in and out of, right? They love a little difficulty. Souls-likes are mainstream now. Like people want to be challenged and, and have these types of things. And so I think put this in a roguelike Metroidvania format and make the combat a little bit more fluid. And I think Ghosts and Goblins can have some really, really good success. Mega Man is an IP, I think. I don't know, man. I don't know. It's something about like Mega Man in comparison to some of the other 2D platformers back then just didn't resonate with me, I guess, as much personally. And I understand his impact, right? And just people love Mega Man. He's one of the most, we can't make a tier list of video game characters, right? And I have Mega Man at the top of that conversation, right? Just in terms of impact. But I think if I'm thinking about once again what translates over to me, I think if you repackage a Ghost and Goblins game effectively, I think I would love to see a rendition of it. But I know you love your Mega Man, so you gotta bring it.
I gotta say my piece. So I totally agree with you, and I jumped the gun and made the bracket for the second round. But you make a good point that Ghosts and Goblins, Ghouls and Ghosts, if we want to call a spade, was a 2D Dark Souls.
It was.
Yeah. Playing as a knight, fighting demons, one hit kill.
And it was tough.
Extremely hard. I don't think I've ever beaten the second level of Super Ghouls and Ghosts.
Yeah, no, absolutely not. Absolutely not.
And people would eat that up now. We're in a generation of masochists.
Yes, 100%, man. And not to the extent of like, and that's where I think, once again, the combat and gameplay being engaging would have to be important, right? But I think with so many examples now of that 2D fighting style where you can still make it feel mixy and fluid, you have so much examples to go off of. There's just no excuse as to why I think you couldn't, make something that excelled in that regard.
Damn, I'm trying to pull up a trailer. Oh, there we go. So yeah, but Mega Man X, like you insinuated, even though you haven't played it, this thing when it first came out, it just exuded what cool was back then.
Yeah.
Like Mega Man needed at the time an edgy reboot. Like we were getting like Sonic the Hedgehog, who was really like the edgy '90s version of like the answer to Mario. And Capcom really wanted to capitalize on that new, like, people skateboarding, people, saying dude and shit like that. So I think that's what Mega Man X was supposed to be. It was supposed to be that real cool ratification of Mega Man. And it succeeded. Like, the graphics were something we haven't seen in time. Yeah. The music was amazing.
Yeah, they've always had good music though.
Yeah, Capcom don't miss when it comes to music.
They don't mess with that.
For sure. And it was one thing that was different from Mega Man, because not saying Mega Man didn't have lore, but it wasn't as traditionally told in the first OG Mega Mans. This one kind of had the Super Nintendo's versions of cutscenes where things would stop and there would be text boxes and there were like legit stories and dramas. People were dying canonically.
Wow.
Yeah. It was pretty. It was cool for its time. But I agree with your argument though that like
but like I said, I understand like just based on impact, right? Like it's in terms of IP, people are at least gonna look at a Mega Man, right? Like that that if you want to make a quick buck, no matter how the game is gonna be, you're gonna put out a Mega Man versus a Ghost and Goblins, unfortunately. But like I said, I think you repackage Ghost and Goblins to fit a modern, once again, portable or not portable, right? Aspect and make it fun and the combat engaging. I really, really do think they can make something special.
So the fans, last one that the fans were allowed to vote on, Ghouls and Ghosts / Ghosts and Goblins, 33%. Mega Man X, 77.
That's not as bad as I thought. It could be a lot worse.
Nah, yeah. This was not the slaughter that honestly this should have been, which I think is a little damning for Mega Man X. Like, what? So I don't know, man. You really made a good case for Ghouls and Ghosts.
Yeah, no, Capcom, I hope you're listening. I'll give you free game.
Listening.
I'll give you free game. I'm telling you, man.
And honestly, Mega Man, like Capcom has tried to make Mega Man relevant. The last one that came out, I think, was 9 or 10, and that was on the PS4 generation, I think.
Okay.
And I don't think that really did well, but they did release that short in Secret Levels. Did you watch Secret Levels?
I watched the Pac-Man one.
Yeah.
I saw people up in ours about that.
Crazy.
Incredible to me. I love it.
I did
We'll talk about that later. But no, I love the Warhammer episode too. I thought that was incredible. I still have a few to get through though. Mega Man is definitely on my list. I definitely want to watch that one.
I kind of want to make this bracket interesting, and I kind of want to move Ghouls and Ghosts up.
And hey man, these are your fans. You make them mad all you want.
And I think Ghouls and Ghosts, Ghouls and Goblins is the more interesting pick.
I think so too.
I think
Yeah.
so too.
I think so too.
Let's do it, man. I'm being brave. You can't bully me.
Oh my goodness.
You can't bully me, community.
This is not me saying this.
I do it.
It's all right. I want no smoke.
I do what I want. Ghouls and Ghosts, Ghosts and Goblins, whatever we're calling this. Moving on to the next round.
I like it.
All right. I'm going to show everybody the monstrosity that we made, and then I'm going to export it and put it in the chat.
I feel like this could be a lot worse.
I think we're on the right track so
This
far.
could be a lot worse.
So on the Leon side, we're gonna have Dino Crisis, the 1 seed, going up against Lost Planet. That's going to be a crazy joint. Breath of Fire, number 3, going up against the sleeper hit Ghosts and Goblins, the number 7. It's gonna be crazy, but I'm gonna give you some time. We pissed some people off. Let's step away.